Dear friends, we are currently facing one of the greatest international health crises that we have experienced in living memory. What I want to say to you all at this moment is the following. We are all feeling very anxious. There are an incredible number of uncertainties at the moment. Plans have been dashed, holidays cancelled, smachot cancelled, and indeed we're going to have to find new ways of connecting together as a community. We're very, very concerned because the problem we have is as follows. We just read the Parsha of Ki Tisa. The Parsha of Ki Tisa contains within it the machatzitza shekel, the half shekel piece that every individual had to give to the temple for various community sacrifices and also for the upkeep of the temple. Our sages ask, why was only half a shekel given? So the answer is quite simple. Every individual is incomplete without connecting to others. My part is incomplete without connecting to your part. And that's true for all of us. The difficulty we face at this time is our strength at coming together as a community, of looking after the weak, the vulnerable, people who are elderly or who have medical conditions, has now become our weakness. Those very people that we seek to look after and care for and support are the most vulnerable from this terrible virus that is spreading around the world. That's why we're going to have to look at new ways of connecting with one another. Not everything is going to be possible because we have to adhere to halakha. However, we will update you with new ideas and ways of connecting to ensure that people do not feel left out of their community, that we're not abandoning you, that people who have to isolate themselves, either because they're already ill or because they're vulnerable, will be able to connect back into their community through electronic means. It strikes me that at this time we can ask ourselves, why? Why now? Why us? Why does it have to be my simcha that's cancelled? Why does it have to be my holiday that's postponed? Why does this have to affect my family? In the very parsha that we read about community, about the half shekel, we also read about the terrible events of the golden calf. And following from that, Moses asks God exactly the same question. Why? Why do terrible things happen? And he asks God to show him his face. Moses wants to know the essence of God, to be able to understand exactly why all these terrible things happen in the world. Why is it that just at that moment when the Jewish people could have been at their greatest, they fell so spectacularly? God replies to Moses, "You can't see my face, but you can see my back." What this means is as follows. No human being can understand the mind of God. None of us can fully comprehend what God's plan is for the world and why this particular virus at this particular time should strike us in such a way. But God did say that Moses could see his back. What does that mean exactly? I think it means the following. As we're going through a crisis, it is impossible to understand why it is we're in that particular moment, experiencing the tragedy or the terrible suffering that we're experiencing. And as we move forwards, it's difficult to see how this is helping us in any way. How is it doing anything for us positive? But as we look back on our lives, as we remind ourselves of other crises, other challenges that we had, problems that we came across in our lives that at the time appeared like we could be at the end of the road, and yet we managed to pick ourselves up and move forwards, we also realize that those were the times in our lives of the greatest growth. Those were the very times in our lives where we really found out who we are as a human being and where our strengths lie. And that is what we have to do right now. I think this experience has taught us that we can only see God's back. We can only look back in retrospect and understand what we've experienced in our lives. As the great Danish philosopher once said, Søren Kierkegaard, he once said that you can only understand life in retrospect. Life has to be lived forwards, but can only be understood backwards. And this is what God was saying to Moses. At the same time, however, it's also taught us to be grateful for the things that we do have. Who would have known that it would be so difficult suddenly to acquire basic items for our basic needs? Who would have realized that even getting onto a tube train or meeting up for a social gathering could be jeopardized? And it's at these times that we have to be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem, for all the health and happiness that we have experienced in our lives, and look forward to the time when we can experience all of that once again with normality and a feeling of being looked after and supported by all of those people around us for real, not just on electronic means or through Skype or through FaceTime or anything else. I hope that everyone is well, and I hope that you continue to contact me for any needs that you have. If you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling anxious, if for any other reason you need our help, please do be in touch. I may not be able to be there with you physically, but I will certainly be with you spiritually, and certainly via FaceTime or WhatsApp or Skype or Zoom or many of the other ways that we can connect via smartphones and computers with the wonderful technology we have today. I wish you well. I wish you health and happiness as we move forwards through these difficult times. But please know that although you may have to distance yourself from your community will not distance itself from you.